All right, let's talk about TypeScript and React. So I want to start off by just introducing you to this resource right over here. This is the React plus TypeScript cheat sheet. This resource is pretty great. It'll just show you how you can type basically everything in React. I'll leave a link in the description and you can check that out on your own time, but it is a pretty valuable resource. So I would suggest going and checking that out. All right, let's get into this. All right, so I already have my file up here, but there's a few different ways you can get started with React and TypeScript. For us, we're just gonna use a template from the Create React app people, but if you wanted to, you could set up your Webpack and add a tsConfig and do all that, but this is gonna kind of automate that for us and allow us to get started fairly effortlessly. So let's jump right into this. The first thing we're going to want to do is come into some terminal or whatever, and you want to go npx create react app, and then we want to name it. So whatever you want to do, name here, and then you want to go -- template, and we are going to say TypeScript for our template. So this is what you're going to want to do. Bump that up for you just to get started. And then run that, obviously. All right, so if you run that, you'll see that this is what you end up with. I've taken out some of the stuff in the app here, but other than that, that should be the same. So if we come over to our SRC here, the difference between regular JS and TypeScript, you're gonna see our app right here is .tsx. So all our files, if they're React, they're gonna be .tsx. And if it's just plain JavaScript, or in this case TypeScript, it's going to be .ts instead of .js. So that's the main difference there. And then the other thing you're going to see down here is your tsConfig. So if you open that up, this is going to be your configuration for TypeScript, and you're going to get this automatically when you run that command. There's a few things here. You can kind of customize it how you'd like. For us, it's pretty basic. This is straight out of the box, so we're going to stick with that. Strict is something you might want to pay attention to. For us, we have it as true. If you turn this to false, you're going to lose a lot of the advantages of TypeScript. So in general, we want to keep this strict to true. All right, so let's get right into this here. We can close this up and open up our app.tsx here. All right, so the first thing we're going to want to do is show you how to actually type a function. All right, so typing a function in React is no different than typing a function in regular TypeScript. So we can come here and we can add a colon here, and we just want to say what we're going to return in our function. So if you know what you're going to return, you can add this right here, and that might come from an interface, or there are also some built-in types from React. So for us, we're just going to add a React element here, and you can see all this great autocomplete that we get as well. So we can add this and bring this in, and you can see up top that brings that in automatically, and that's what we're going to return as a React element. Now, if we don't know if we're going to return that, we can also do this pipe character here and then add null just like this, and that is showing that it is either a React element we're returning or null. So that is how you can type your functions in React. And you could also do it if you had more customization. You could do an interface, but we'll get to these in a second, so maybe we won't do that right here. So I also want to show you just how you might see these typed in a lot of React TypeScript repositories. And this way is also fair to do it. I've seen a lot of people do it this way. I did come across this article here by Kenzie Dobbs. I'll leave this link in the description too. And it's talking about how you might not want to do it this way, but he says it's not a huge deal, and I don't think it's a huge deal either way, however you want to type it. So let's come back here, and I'll just show you how you might see it so you're not confused. All right, so we can't do this with a functional component. We have to use an arrow function here, but we can use the react.fc. All right, so a few reasons we might not want to use this is when we use this react.fc, our function is going to automatically accept a children prop if we want it or not. So that's one reason. I don't think you can use generics, which we're actually not even going to talk about in this video, but that's one more drawback. Basically, I'll leave it up to you. I don't think it's a huge deal either way. So let's go back to our other way. All right, so that's how you're gonna type your actual functions in React and TypeScript. So another thing to keep in mind here is that we can always rely on the implicit return. So if we get rid of this here, like this, and we hover over the app, you can see that we are getting the return type of JSX.element. So that's always an option. All right, so now let's talk about typing out our props. We're gonna come over, we have a to-do form here, just some basic markup here, nothing crazy. Let's just show you this real quick. That's all we got really going right now. So how would we go about typing this? So there's a couple ways you may have seen this done. There is type aliases and then also interfaces. And today we're just gonna go over interfaces probably. But let's show you how we would do some sort of type alias. In order to write that, you would just go like this. Say we had an animal type, and that would just be equal to this, and that might have a name of, say, string. So that is how you would type a type alias. Now, we're not going to be using this, but I just wanted to show you just so you had it. If you see it in other code bases, this is a perfectly acceptable way to do that. There's a few differences between types and interface, or type aliases rather, and interfaces. But for the most part, they're very similar. So the main difference is a type can't be reopened to add new properties, whereas an interface is extendable, so a little more flexible. So if you wanted some more rigidity, a type might be preferable for you. All right, so that preamble done, let's go ahead and show you how these are going to work. All right, so we create an interface by typing the word interface like this, and then the name of that interface. So this can be anything. For right now, we'll just say props because that's what it's going to be in this component. And then let's say we have a text value here, and that's going to be of string. You can have say we had a homework. That could be a Boolean, true or false. Just like that, you could have, let's say we had some shopping items like this, and that could be a number. So that you have number, string, Boolean so far. What else can we do? We can do an object inside here. So say we had name like this, and we have first like this, and that could be a string. And then we could have last, and that could be a string as well. So you can have, just like that, you can have an object. And then what else? You can have a function in here. So say we had add items, and we do that by going like this. And we can return either void if it doesn't return anything, or you could return whatever the function returns. So say we had a string, and how you do arrays, you'd go like this. So that's going to be an array of strings that you add in. And then inside here, we can just pass in the parameters. So we would have an item, and that's going to be a string, and that's how that would work like that. Now, if you wanted to say maybe it could be multiple types here, you can go like this and just say the homework was a Boolean, or for some reason that was also a string. You could do like that, and if it was also a number, and you can kind of just chain these on like this, just like that. And then there's also optional types here. So if we come in here and say that homework is optional, we just add a question mark there, just like that. And that's how we do that. All right, so I think that's the main basic types that we would be using here in our interface. So now let's put this into practice right here. So let's come down here and say props, just like this. And then we want to say props as our type like this, okay? Now, we haven't added this anywhere. We'll just come down here and we'll say props dot, and you can see when we come down here, we have all these different items that automatically populate, which is pretty nice. It gives us all the different things that we can add. For us, we'll just say text for now. So just like this. Now we can go ahead and save this, and let's come back to our app.jsx and add it in here. So we can come down below here and add in our to-do form, and you can see that will get brought in automatically. And close that off, and you see this red squiggly line. Now when we hover over this, you see the type is missing the following properties from type. Text, name, add items. So all these different things are missing. Let's actually clear out a few of these so we can just show you how this works. So we can go like this, text is equal to test. All right, so now when we type out these props here, you can see we got an object here returning this, and then our text of test here. Now you can see our red squiggly goes away, and everything is looking pretty good. The last thing I forgot to mention is we could actually come in here. So we could come in here and say interface like this, and we could say shopping props, or let's just shopping for now, and then come down here, and we could just say items, and then we could say our item, and that would be a string, and then come down here like this, and we could say shopping like this, and we could call that shopping. All right, so we can actually combine different interfaces into a singular one too. So that is kind of extendable like that. All right, so I think that's basically it for how you would type your props. I think we covered most of the different types here. So next, let's take a look at how you would type your different React hooks. So let's get right into that. All right, so let's talk about typing out our hooks in React. First of all, for a lot of these, you can rely on the implicit types if you want. But if you want to be a little more explicit about that, let's show you how you might go about doing that. So the first hook we want to look at is probably our most useful, and that is the use state. So let's come down below here, and we'll just go const, and we'll go user and set user, just like this, and that will be equal to use state, just like that. And this is how we have it normally. Now we're not using this, so we're getting the yellow squiggly there. This is fine. You could do it like this, but let's say we want to be a little more explicit about our types that we're bringing in. So let's start by just creating an interface up here like this, and we'll just call it user. And let's come in here and we'll just say name, and that's going to be a string. Okay, so we have spelled this wrong. Come in here, interface. So we have this here, and that's looking good, but how do we add this type to our use state? So in order to do that, we're going to come in here, and we're going to go angle bracket like this, and we're just going to add in our type there, and that is good. And then we want to pass in here, let's say the name, and that is going to be what we can just go an empty string for now. So this is how we're going to do that. We could add something here, say Darwin, however we want to do that. So that is how one way to type it. Now, what if you wanted to add this as null? So let's get rid of this here and come in here, and we can do the or here like that, and we can say null. And in here, if we want it to be null, we can just go like this. So that is how you could type your use state if you liked. So that's good for that one. All right, so the next basic hook you might be wondering about is use effect, but luckily we don't have to really do much for use effect. The only thing you want to keep in mind is that you want to make sure you're not returning anything other than a function or undefined. But other than that, there's going to be really no differences when it comes to TypeScript. So that's good. Now, the next one we're actually going to look at here is going to be use ref here. Let's come down here, and we'll just go const, and we'll say text ref like that, and then that's going to be equal to use ref, and we can bring that in here, and from there we're just going to go like this and just call that. Now this is how we do it just in basic React. Now if we come down here and we want to say ref, and that is equal to use text ref, just like this. Okay. Now you can see we have an error message coming up here, and if we read this, we can see the type is undefined, is not assignable to HTML element or null. So this is a nice little error message here, and I think you want to take some time and read through these and get used to working with them, because they'll tell you a lot. So basically we can just come in here, copy this over, and then we want to come up here, and how we're going to type this is with our angle brackets again. We're going to paste this in and close that off, and then we're going to come down here. I don't know what happened here. Come down here, and you see we still have the error message here, and you see we're still getting the type undefined is not assignable to HTML element. So that is because we're not passing in anything here. Right now it's undefined, and we can't do that. So if we pass in null here, we can see our error message goes away. So that is basically how you would type use ref. So if you wanted to put a ref on anything else, say the form element or whatever, you can do that, and then you could just read your error message and see what type of element you would want, HTML element you would want to put in there. So that is basically use ref. So I think those are the main hooks you'll be working with on a regular basis. I'll direct you back over to the React TypeScript cheat sheet that I showed you earlier. And again, that'll be a link in the description for that. But that has kind of all the other information you'll need if you come across other hooks. But I think that is a pretty good intro to TypeScript and React. Hopefully that is helpful. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.